I'll start again. So today is a special day, Yud Shvat. It's the day that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, who came to America and escaped miraculously from Russia and came to the United States and started the whole revolution of and the mind switch that America is not different and deserves to get the same Jewish education. Jews should live proudly in the United States. And also a year later, in 1951, the Rebbe became Rebbe. So this day should bring brachas to everybody who needs brachas. We should connect to this beautiful koach of this day, special day of Yud Shvat. It is also the yahrzeit of the Frierdiker Rebbe's, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe's grandmother, Rebbetzin Rivka. And I'd like to talk about her shortly. Maybe I'll put a video that will speak a little bit about her. And it should be a day of just revealed goodness in this world, okay? So,
Okay.
And it's interesting, when I was preparing today's lesson, and I was thinking I'll concentrate a little bit on Rebbetzin Rivka, and in 2 days, in Yud Gimel Shvat, it's Rebbetzin Shterna Sarah's yahrzeit, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe's mother's yahrzeit, and she was the first one who passed away actually in the United States. While the previous Rebbe was running away from the Nazis, his mother was with him. He was with a whole family, his daughter, his grandson, his wife, and also his mother. And when he came off the ship on a wheelchair, his mother was also not doing well on a wheelchair. And the last 2 years of her life, she lived in 770 with the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. And for her, they bought the first plot in the Montefiore Cemetery where she was buried. And then the ohel was built right across her for the burial on Yud Shvat for the previous Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak. So I thought maybe to share a video. Do you mind? On Rebbetzin Rivka. Let's see. Do you see it?
We can see, but we don't hear.
Oh, yeah? How come? At all? 1 second.
No, just to see the subtitles.
That's interesting. Why is that? Everything's on. Let me just make it bigger, maybe. So do you want to continue seeing it, or?
Yes, we can read what he's saying.
Okay, let me see. This is my grandfather.
Esther.
1 second.
Oh,
It's still
okay, then.
playing. 1 second, it's still playing. Sorry.
Esther, could you please
Yeah.
post the link to that afterwards on the site? Thank you
Yes,
so
I think
much.
it's a very powerful message the Rebbe gave there, and there's so much hashgacha pratis. I'll just say in parentheses, my grandfather was sitting right behind the Rebbe, and behind him is my father. So for me, it's very special. But I do want to say that in this talk, besides talking about Rebbe and Rivka and her pawning her jewelry every time the Rebbe Rashab came home from his travels, he used to spend time redeeming her jewelry that she used to pawn, especially her pearls, to give tzedakah while he was gone. And the Rebbe speaks there about Am Yisrael being like the Rivka, the bride, and Hashem is the groom, and he goes to he's redeeming us as if we were pawned, and he's redeeming us. There's so much there that has to do with shir, hashirim, and also in this, the Rebbe mentions Mitzrayim, which is this week's parsha, the going out of Boy Bishalach, going out of Mitzrayim, that according to Chassidus, that Hashem says 4/5 will go to you and 1/5 will be for Paro. And what it means in Chassidus that has to do with the jewelry that Am Yisrael had. So Rebbetzin Rivka, what was very special about her is she was the source. She lived 33 years after her husband, the Rebbe Rashab, was nifter. And her grandson, the previous Lubavitch Rebbe, used to go to her every day after school, and she used to tell him stories, all the stories of Chassidim and I think she was a granddaughter of the Rebbe the Tzemach Tzedek, and she was a source of knowledge for the Rabbeim, for him, of stories and sources of things that were done in the houses of the Rabbeim. And the Frierdiker Rebbe, as we know, was a writer. He had all his diaries and stories that came out to Sefer Zichronot, his memoirs, and most of the stories was from her. He got it from her. And so it's really very special. And I think the mimer that we learned, Basi Legani, the Frierdiker Rebbe really prepared for her yahrzeit. And then it turned out to be his yahrzeit. And that's why it became like his will, what we learn. And the Rebbe continued through the years. I'd like to share, as a child growing up with parents that have seen the previous Lubavitch Rebbe, my beginning years growing up in Chabad, as a child from a Chabad family, Yud Shvat was a very sad day, like Gimel Tammuz for us maybe now, but Yud Shvat was a very sad day because to my parents, it was the day the previous Lubavitch Rebbe was nifter, even though they were very mekusha with the Rebbe and close to the Rebbe and knew the Rebbe and saw the God greatness of the Rebbe, still was to them the day that the previous Lubavitch Rebbe was nifter, was nostalgic, and always like the yahrzeit, always there was a sadness. Till years later, it became like a happy day, the day that our Rebbe became the Rebbe. The switch of it being like a happy day, the day that our Rebbe became the Rebbe. So I dance on both to both tunes when it comes to this day. My husband actually is named Yosef Yitzchak after the previous Rebbe because he was born a few years later on Vav Shvat. My husband's birthday was this Shabbos, and that was the Mazel Tov that somebody wrote, I guess. I don't know I guess somebody wrote Mazel Tov, it must be for that. Yes, so we celebrated a big birthday, Baruch Hashem, 70, and this was 72 years ago, so 73 years ago, so he was just born a little after Yud Shvat and on Vav Shvat, so his name is Yosef Yitzchak, like my oldest brother is Yosef Yitzchak, and our Mechutanim are Yosef Yitzchak. That whole class was, I once sat by a Sheva Brachas of 2 couples. One was our own, and all the forefathers of the 2 couples, they were all Yosef Yitzchak, like, which was very cute. Anyway, so this is the specialty of Rebbetzin Rivka. She was also known to be the mother of the Bachrim. She took care of the Bachrim in Lubavitch. She was born in the city of Lubavitch, and she took care of the Bachrim in the yeshiva. She was like their mother and took care of them. And when the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America, the previous Rebbe came to America, he opened up the girls. One of the first things he did was to open up Neshei Chabad and a girls' school, and that's why the schools were named Beis Rivka. My mother actually is named Shetichya, till 120, is named after her. Her name is Rivka, my mother. So that's about Rebbetzin Rivka. On Yud Gimel Shvat is Rebbetzin Stern Sarah, like I said, the Frierdiker Rebbe's mother that came with him to the United States. She was also from a Schneerson family. They were both from the Schneerson family. Rebbetzin Rivka married, I think, her first cousin. Rebbetzin Stern Sarah is a little bit more distance in generation, but they were all Schneersons, actually. They were all Schneersons. And for me, the Hashgacha Pratis, when I was started to prepare about Rebbetzin Rivka and then went to prepare Shir Hashirim, there's about Rivka Imenu in Shir Hashirim. So it was like, wow, always finding the Hashgacha Pratis, and when I'm preparing something to the time that we are learning. So I will now want to open up the text. Please, I will open up a second. This one. No, not this one. Oh, here, share. Okay, just one more second. And share screen. Here. Okay, so we're starting today. We're starting today the 2nd chapter in Shir Hashirim, okay? And it starts with the following verse. Ani chavatzelet hasharon shoshanat ha'amakim. Let me put it with Rashi. Okay. Ani chavatzelet hasharon. Okay, the Mefarshim discuss what is a chavatzelet. It's the name of a flower. Here we are dealing, and it's the Hashgacha Pratis that we're so close to Tu B'Shvat. We will be dealing today with trees and flowers. Lekovat Tu B'Shvat, the first pasuk. Ani chavatzelet hasharon, shoshanat ha'amakim. I am the rose, a rose of Sharon, a rose of the valley. So I see they translated both chavatzelet and Shoshana, both rose. As Rashi says, chavatzelet, this is a rose. And what is the difference between chavatzelet and Shoshana? So he says, this is prettier than the rose of the mountain because it's always moist, since the sun has no strength there. So Rashi's teaching us that we're talking about 2 types of roses. The first one is a chavatzelet from the Sharon. Sharon is the mountainous area, according to most Mefarshim, or even where I am, is the, Ezor HaSharon is more this area of Merkaz Haaretz, where the sun comes down very strongly, and the roses are a bit weaker. And Shoshanat Ha'amakim are prettier because there's always moisture because it's in the valley and the sun isn't so strong there. So the flowers grow much prettier because there's no scorching sun there. Some say the Shoshanat Hamakim is what we call the lily of the valley. Okay? This is one of another Mefaresh. Okay. The Al-Shich and Mitzudat David, which are two very common commentaries of Shir Hashirim, say Sharon on one is the coastal plains. That's why I said the area here along the coast. It is a fertile area, but maybe not as not so good, maybe it's roses, but it is a fertile area that you could grow and plant roses. So we are talking about two beautiful types of roses, some that are grown in fertile area along the coast, and then there are the roses of the valley. Later, when we'll learn a little deeper, we'll see the differences. Some say chavatzelet is a rose when it's just budding and young, and the shoshana is more of a mature, full bloom rose. Okay, some say the Sharon is talking about the Yafo Caesarea coast. I'll go to the next pasuk and then we'll go back a little bit further. Kishoshana ben hachochim, I am a rose as a rose. Oh, okay, let me stop for a second. The first verse, who's saying this? So the Mefarshim say that Am Yisrael, the bride, the beloved, is saying, I am like a simple rose. I'm just a rose in growing in two different areas. And Hashem answers. They claim that the second pasuk, according to some commentaries, is that Hashem is answering, saying, no, you're not a simple rose. You're a Shoshana ben Achochim. You're a rose amongst thorns. So, Ken Rayati ben Habanot. I'm sure you know songs with this pasuk. It's a very popular verse that people like to add music to. Maybe someday I'll collect all the songs and we will sing them. Maybe that'll be our graduation party. We'll sing the songs of Shir Hashirim, the beautiful melodies. Okay, Kishoshana ben Hachochim. You're a thorn amongst, you're a rose growing amongst thorns. Ken Rayati ben Habanot. So are you, my beloved Am Yisrael, my beloved wife. We mentioned Raya is a wife, friend, wife, amongst all the girls. What does Rashi say here? A rose among thorns, which pierce it, but it remains constant in its beauty and in its redness. So is my beloved amongst the daughters. They entice her to pursue them, to stray like them after strange God, but she remains firm in her faith. The Mefarshim are saying that in the first verse, Am Yisrael is like being modest, saying, yes, I'm a rose, I am very pretty, but I've done so many things that maybe blemished me. So Hashem says, no, I put you amongst thorns through so many challenges, nisyonot, goim, galut, and you stayed kishoshana, you stayed like a rose. Hashem is praising us back. Okay, and that's why the Al-Shich says the word ani chavatzelet Sharon. Sharon is from the word shir, that we are singing here one to each other. If you remember, when we spoke about in the previous parak, we were going through the time in different hints that we're saying to Hashem, you gave us a Torah and then we sinned, and then you asked us to build the Mishkan and we did, and it was so nice. You came even though we sinned. If you recall that we also mentioned there, Chet HaEgel, that here Hashem married us, the Chuppah, Matan Torah, and then Moshe went up to learn the Torah and bring it down. He disappeared, and we right away built the calf, the golden calf, Chet HaEgel, and Moshe had to beg Hashem to forgive us. Here we are hinting a little bit too. We are saying, Ani chavatzelet hasharon. We are like excusing ourselves that we are like a weak rose. Chavatzelet hasharon is a weaker rose, like we said, than Shoshanat ha'amakim, that is in a sandy area. Like we said, it's along the beach. We need strength. And Moshe disappeared on us, and we felt lost all alone. And that's why we sinned. This is according to the Medrash, and that's how the Zohar explains it. That the word shir, hasharon, we need a constant song and encouragement. Ani chavatzelet hasharon, I am the weak rose that is in a sandy area that needs song and words of encouragement to strengthen ourselves. And when you take away Moshe Rabbeinu, when you take away a leader, we could get lost. And Hashem says, no, you're Kishoshana ben Chachochim. You're a strong rose. Look what I put you through. And you guys stayed, sorry for the expression, not you guys, Am Yisrael stayed faithful, even though I put you amongst girls who were trying to take you away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this expression connects to Rivka. On Rivka Imenu, it says that, let me just stop sharing for a minute. Where is it? Do I stop sharing? Not where I stop sharing. See? On this expression, Kishoshana ben HaChochim, this expression we hear first on Rivka Imenu. It says that Rivka Imenu was Kishoshana ben HaChochim. She was like a rose among thorns. She was growing up in a terrible environment. Her father was Betuel. Her brother was Lavan Ha'arami. He was a very, very sly, deceptive person. And she grew up as a rose among thorns. And so it connected so much with today's Rebbe's and Rivka's yahrzeit. And here we're learning the expression on Rivka Imenu Kishoshana ben HaChochim. And what's interesting, when Eliezer comes to make the shidduch of Yitzchak and Rivka was Yitzchak's wife, he said, she must leave with me today. And our Mefarshim and her parents, we see, say, no, it's customary, a child gets engaged, it takes a year to build up her nedunya, to teach her and to prepare her for marriage. Let her stay here a week, a month, a year. And he said, no, she has to leave with me today. And our Mefarshim ask, why was it so important to take her out that day? And they say that she is a Shoshana ben HaChochim. She is like a rose among thorns. And she was like already an opened Shoshana. Now we understand that Shoshana is the expression for a mature, open, full blossom rose. And if it stays too long, the thorns will scratch the rose. It will make an impression on the rose, even though here in Shir Hashirim he says, no, a rose stays forever beautiful. But there it explains that she will be a little bit affected and scratched. She will be a beautiful rose, but there will be a a scratch, for lack of another word, an imprint of the thorn that might prick it if she opens up too much. And she was just on that stage of a rose that might be scratched and damaged by the thorns. And that's why he said, we must take her out immediately. We also see it later when Yitzchak, and it's interesting, Yitzchak is the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe's name. And the Rebbe discusses the Yitzchak, the part of his name, the Yosef part of his name, and maybe I will add that in a few minutes. When Yitzchak becomes blind, our Mefarshim ask, and Rashi brings a few reasons why he was blind. And Rashi says one of the reasons, and it was the first reason, was because his eyes got affected from the incense and smoke of Esav, his son's wives' sacrifices to their avodah zarah. He was such a sensitive olat mimah, holy person, that it affected his eyes, that he was so sensitive. And the Mefarshim say, but Rivka was also there in the house. How come it didn't affect her? How come she did not become blind? And Mefarshim answered, because she was used to it from her father's house, from her parents' home. Which teaches us, I think, as mothers, grandmothers, that, sometimes you get so used to something, you get desensitized. And it's good to get back to our sources to put us back on track. Because you could get used to something and say, what's wrong with that? And I'm dealing with a few of such situations with people, and they say, like, what's wrong with that? I said, even the question shows that how desensitized we became, that we don't realize that it's wrong, that we're not sensitive enough to pick up that it's not the right way. And I want to really connect it to something we just saw on the video. If you notice, when the Rebbe is talking on the video we just saw, to me it was mind-boggling. He's talking about the jewelry that Rebbe and Rivka had, pearls and jewelry that she had. The Rebbe Rashab did gift his wife. He used to travel a lot, and every time he came back, he brought her a gift. Actually, at that time, they were better off than in other times where Beis Harav was actually very, very poor and poverty-stricken. I don't know if you know that when the Rebbe and Rebbetzin, I think their wedding, the Rebbe and the Rebbetzins' wedding was postponed by a year or more because there was no money for the wedding. That they ran to, it was after Beis Tammuz and had to go to Varsha, whatever. There were times that Beis Harav was really, really poor. But in times of the Rebbe Rashab, Rebbe Rivka, she had jewelry, and here when the Rebbe is talking about as saying that nowadays women should have jewelry, physically jewelry, and also other types of jewelry, meaning in the spiritual sense, the way he discussed, we might not have to pawn it, but it's to teach us to give charity and everything. And he says women should get jewelry, and he mentions in between, I don't know if you noticed it, I could bring it back up if you want the video. He says jewelry, of course, that was gotten according to halacha, the right way, bought with proper business dealings and proper transactions according to halacha. Very interesting statement. Why wouldn't our jewelry be brought in the proper way? Our husbands don't steal it, or the money that they use is not stolen. But it's interesting. And to me, I want to bring up this point on Yud Shvat, the day that the Rebbe accepted his leadership. The Rebbe was an unbelievable combination of feelings, emotions, caring, and of course, knowledge and everything else. But at the same time, the Rebbe was ish halacha. Everything that guided him, his first thought was, what was written in the Torah and what is the halacha? And you see it through everything. You know, I remember, I mean, I was very young. I was like 6, 7 years old, but remember later they spoke that Vav Tishrei, when the Rebbe's mother, Rebbe Tzachana, the Rebbe's mother was nifter, it was Shabbos. The Rebbe went with her in the ambulance, but the minute after her histalkus, people were saying to the Rebbe, you should make Havdalah, you should drink something. And the Rebbe says, first, I need a Rav and Svarim to learn what I'm allowed to do and what I'm not allowed to do, or what we're supposed to do now. And the Rebbe wouldn't budge till the halacha was clarified. And I heard on Yud Shvat, on this day, that the Frierdiker Rebbe was nifter, and by the Levaya, they all tore kriya, you know, the renting of the garment in mourning. The Rebbe right away and checked if it was not more than a tefach, shouldn't be more than a tefach of a rip. And I heard it from a man who saw it, and he says, who was the most in grief at that time was the Rebbe. He was so close to the Frierdiker Rebbe, to the previous Rebbe, his father-in-law. It was like his father. But and mending the garment is like, I mean, I unfortunately went through it when I lost my father. It's like cutting your heart. That's what I felt like. They were cutting my heart, not my top that I was wearing, but it was like ripping my heart. And the Rebbe went straight with his hand like this to check that it wasn't more than a tefach. And the man said it was like beyond his capacity to understand how you could control your emotions and be connected in such an emotional time to halacha. And the reason I'm saying is because I'm in education. Everybody's saying, now we have to speak to the children about their emotions. And again, what do you feel? And I feel like it. And I'm now involved in something that everybody's saying, well, we feel like it, and you have to give a room for the feelings and everything. I do believe in that, but not when it touches halacha. I think halacha and guidance and structure, and this is the way we do it, is really missing in this generation. Sounds like I'm from the ancient times, but I probably am. I think what the Rebbe was teaching us was how to balance. This doesn't come on the cheshbon of that. And the Rebbe gave a lot of room for emotion, but at the same time, balancing with halacha. One of my sons told me this week that the Frierdiker Rebbe one time, I guess when he sat Shiva, it was either for his mother or for his father. During Shiva, he went up to the Torah, which is not so accepted according to halacha. Frierdiker Rebbe must have had a reason for it. And the Rebbe said to Rabbi Gavriel Zinner, who is a halacha person who wrote for my husband 10 years ago, his set of Svarim called Nitei Gavriel. It's a halacha books. He lives in America. And the Rebbe said, and he mentioned it to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said he would never be able to do it. He respects his father-in-law, and he believes his father-in-law had a very, very deep reason for going up to the Torah while he was in Shiva. But the Rebbe says, I cannot move myself from halacha. And I would like to tell a story about that, being that we have some women here from Tzfat. So honor them with this Tzfat story, a story that took place in the time of the Arizal. And we know halacha, Arizal is, Kabbalah and Chassidus and everything else. And at the same time lived there Rabbi Yosef Karo, which is the Shulchan Aruch. So it has that combination of, leaving structure, and Rabbi Yosef Karo putting structure into Am Yisrael, into our way of, into halacha. And there's a story, Tzfas was at that time with a lot of tzaddikim. Most of them lived more or less at the same time. And at the same time, most of the people in Tzfas were very simple people, not learned and simple balei emuna people. And there was a person there, a Jew, that learned or heard that in the Beis Hamikdash, they had 12 lechem aponim, 12 breads that was put on the shulchan in the Beis Hamikdash. And every week it was brought in fresh bread, and the old bread was taken and given out to the Kohanim. And he said, wow, Hashem likes bread. So he came home to his wife and he told his wife to bake 2 beautiful challahs every Friday, like lechem mishneh, and it will give it, and he took it to the Aron Kodesh of his shul every Friday. He used to open up the Aron Kodesh and put there 2 challahs, freshly baked, beautiful challahs. The Gabbai came to clean up the shul before Shabbos, smelled beautiful challah, aroma of challah, followed the aroma and found it in the Aron Kodesh. On one hand, he was horrified. Who puts, halacha, you're not allowed to, you're not allowed to do that. Put stuff into the Aron Kodesh, like challah and stuff like that. Anyway, so he decided to take it. And he took it. And this continued for a while. The simple man came to shul, saw that Hashem ate his bread. It's gone. So the following week, he came back and did it again. And this went on for a while. One day, the Rav came Friday early to shul, and he sees from the side what's happening. He sees the simple man come, open up the Aron Kodesh, and put 2 bread. It was like, what? Halachically, this is not something that could be done. Everybody will come. It's also, it's in a way part of Avodah Zarah. I used to travel. My husband will be going back on Sunday after many, many years of Corona and restrictions, but the Far East, wherever we used to go, there's Buddhas with food. Many offices, we had to turn our heads because they all have these little big Buddhas, little Buddhas sitting there with food and food and food just rotting away, and then they keep changing the fruits and the vegetables. Wow. Anyway, so it's it has a sense of that. And then he sees the man go out, and later he sees the Gabbai come in and take the challahs. So he calls over the simple man, and he says to him, what you did is wrong. We don't bring challahs. Baruch Hu does not eat. He's not of shape and form. And we don't give HaKadosh Baruch Hu challahs. And you have to stop doing that. And the simple man went home, and he didn't do it anymore. After Shabbos, the Arizal comes to this Rav, and he said, you did a terrible thing. Since I think the times of the Beis Hamikdash, there was not the nachas ruach of this, the nachas ruach, the good feeling that this man gave to the Shekhinah was beyond a lot of other things that's going on in this world. And since the time of the Beit HaMikdash, Hashem didn't have this good feeling that this man gave with his 2 challahs. And the Rizal said to him, because of this, you will not live to the end of your days. It's an expression meaning you will not live till the end of the year. So my son who told me the story, he says, Ma, who is the hero in this story? So I said to him, the old man, the simple man. And he said to me, why did we need the story of the Rav? What was the idea of the Rav here? You know, if the man was doing the wrong thing, he was doing the wrong thing. What do we need? What is the limud? What do we learn here from the story? And when he taught me a beautiful lesson, my son, he said, what was that Israel saying to the Rav? The Rav is also a hero. This is his job. He's supposed to teach us halacha. And he's supposed to teach the man, you're not supposed to put food into the Aron Kodesh. Could you imagine if all the kids went into the Aron Kodesh to hide their candies to Motzei Shabbos? Best hiding place, hide it in the Aron Kodesh. He was doing the right thing. Why isn't he a hero? A man who is taking care that we all have keep halacha. So let's look back at what the Arizal said to him. He says, you will not finish your life. He says, you have no life. You're in a way dead. Because to you, halacha is black and white. This is what you're supposed to do. You have no chayes. You're missing what this man has. This man has pure faith, has love, has chayes. What can I give HaKadosh Baruch Hu? He's thinking of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, taking his feelings towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you are a dry stick. Do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that. So he says, could be, Riza wasn't telling this man, you're going to die. He was saying, in a way, metaphorically, you're dead. You have no life. And he was telling him, take from this man his emunah, his chayes. Take the man and teach him. You love Hashem. You wanted to do something for Hashem. So instead of bread, let's learn something. What is lechem aponim? What does it mean? What does it mean? The bread in the Beis Hamikdash. Teach him. And also get from him his simple emunah. Don't be a person just with lists. And this you're allowed to do, and that you're allowed to do, and this, it's a meshing of both. And this is what the Rebbe really taught us in all the years of his leadership. There is halacha. It's our first thought. Hashem in Avelos and in Simcha. How am I supposed to do it? And then if we're overcome with feeling, to take it and say, what could I give this? How could I take this feeling towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu? I've been hearing so many, I need to express myself, my expression, and to find my place in I was thinking, maybe I'm wrong and you could put me in my place, the women of the wall. My heart goes out to them. They have a need to express their love to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They want to daven. But it's all about their need, what they want. And they say, what, you're going to keep us from davening to Hashem? But Hashem is the one that asked us to daven, and he gave us a code of Jewish law, how to do it. So if you want to express your need to connect to Hashem, you have to do it according to the way he said so. And then you could really express themselves, because yourself, doing in the right way, it's a combination of them both. Combination of them both. And this is what I saw always with the Rebbe, that keeping the halacha, and also this was the Shoshana ben HaChochim, the rose amongst thorns. We kept the halacha, we kept ourselves separate, doing what Hashem did. And many times Goyim used to ask, why are you doing this? Whether it was mikvah or kashrus, it was to separate us from the thorns, to stay a beautiful rose. We had to go according to the halacha, to keep us the rose, the beautiful rose, and not, to be pricked. And I think this is something we have to teach the new generation, that the halachas aren't there to restrict us. It's actually to make us more beautiful and special. And in that box, we definitely could find the expression of who we really are and what we really are. And this is what I feel the Rebbe taught us always. I remember my friend once told me that she came to the Rebbe, she was driving home from, I think from Canada or something. And as they were pulling into Crown Heights, and it was late at night, they heard that the Rebbe was standing by the door of his room and giving out dollars. So the kids weren't really like dressed, because it's a long trip from Canada, like to Crown Heights, it's a 7-hour car ride. And her youngest one was in a pair of pants and a top. And she was a little girl, about maybe 5, 6, or 7, and or 5, probably 5, 6. And she grabbed her daughter and they went online to get dollars. And she says to the Rebbe, the little girl had also very short hair. In Yiddish, it's the feminine noun, a verb. Today is her birthday. Today is her birthday. Even in English, you say her, right? Today is her birthday. So the Rebbe said, her? She goes, yes, today is her birthday. So the Rebbe says, so why is she in pants? The Rebbe wanted his chassidim to go according to halacha, and the girl was a little too old to wear pants. And the Rebbe said to her, like, why is she in pants? And gave her $1 and gave her a bracha. And my friend said it moved her so much that the Rebbe noticed what her child was wearing. It wasn't, just giving out dollars and you don't remember what the person wore. How the Rebbe's look was complete, and he wanted her to keep halacha. You see it in a video. There was a man that used to come in. We knew him very well. He worked in my father's office, actually. He was a gemologist. And he came from Russia. And he's the one that, my father was the one that used to sing the Russian song, Echti Zimliak, Echad mi yodea, God is one, Echti Zimliak, Hashem Durak. If you ever see the chassid that's standing behind the Rebbe singing it, that's my father. But by Kos Shel Bracha came one of his workers who sang it, who was Russian, and he became like the singer of this song. And he used to stand there. It's a man, a Russian man, clean-shaven Russian man. He was a businessman. And once by Kos Shel Bracha, he brought his little girl, and she started singing with him. So you have the whole 770, and the Rebbe is giving out Kos Shel Bracha, and this girl is singing next to her father. And the Rebbe turns around and says to her she should clap. The Rebbe didn't say, stop singing. But the Rebbe wanted her to stop singing. She's a girl standing in the men's shul singing. She must have been 7, 8 years old, from the looks of her. And she started singing. This man was more of a modern man. And to him, he didn't see the problem of his daughter singing with him in shul. And the Rebbe did it so nicely. He said, and then he turned to her and told that she should clap, made her feel good, was connected to the feelings. But halacha is halacha. The Rebbe once went home from 770, and I remember seeing this many, many times. We were playing, but we used to hide when we used to see the Rebbe, behind a garbage can or something, or a bench outside. But there were 2 little girls playing on both sides on the sidewalk, and the Rebbe had to go through them. So he didn't say, go over there, but you have to keep halacha. So the Rebbe went over to one little girl and said, go say hello, good Shabbos from me to your friend. So she ran and the Rebbe walked through. In other words, feelings, respect for another person. And I'll finish off with one more story from the Rebbe that is connected to that also. A chassid that lived in Crown Heights used to go to work every day at the same time that the Rebbe used to cross the Rebbe every day when the Rebbe walked to 770, and he was walking, I guess, to work. And he once went into Yichidut and he said to the Rebbe, I see we're the same people always working the same route. So in front of me, there's always this neighbor, Afro-American neighbor, I think, that passes the Rebbe before me. And the Rebbe always says to him, hello, good morning. And to me, the Rebbe always nods his head, but doesn't say good morning. Why is that? Why the difference? So the Rebbe says, he's a non-Jew. I will not bend my head down to a non-Jew. So I greet him with a good morning. And you're a Jewish person. I have no problem bending my head down to in an acknowledgement to a Jewish person. Meaning every single step was thinking about the other person according to halacha. Not hurting the other person, but to do halacha. There's room for feelings. Oh, I'll tell one more story that connects the Rebbe and the Frierdiker Rebbe, previous Rebbe. As long as the Frierdiker Rebbe was alive, the Rebbe used to sit upstairs by the meals. The Frierdiker Rebbe sat by his chair, and the Rebbe sat on the side. And actually, that continued till the Frierdiker Rebbe's Rebbetzin Nechama passed away on Yud Teves. I was by her Levaya, and then the Rebbe started eating at home. The first year, as long as the Frierdiker Rebbe was alive, the Rebbe by Purim, by the Seder, you're supposed to lean over when you eat, haseba. But as long as the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe was alive, the Rebbe did not do haseba, because you don't do it in front of your Rebbe. In front of your Rav, you don't bend to the side, sit more comfortably on pillows. The first year after Yud Shvat, the first Pesach, the Rebbe did haseba. Somebody said to the Rebbe, you believe that the Rebbe is alive. You talk about him as if he's still here in shul. And the Rebbe, even I heard the Rebbe saying, we should respect 770 because the Frierdiker Rebbe is still here. It's his shul, his home. He's still here. So we should be careful. And so he said to the Rebbe, if you feel that the Rebbe, Frierdiker Rebbe is still here, how come you're doing haseba? So he said, there is feelings and there's halacha. Halacha is if your Rebbe is not in front of you, then you have to do haseba. This is something I feel that we really have to work harder on. I'm saying to myself, the connection to halacha. This is my theme for this Yud Shvat, my halacha, my achlata tova, of being more connected to the halacha. Even though sometimes it's like I say, but I don't feel like it, or a matter of feeling that maybe nowadays it's not pertinent, or there's halacha and there's feelings, and how to try to mesh them to work together without bending the halacha. Okay, everybody, you could write to the Rebbe today. It's a very special day to ask brachas, and Mitzvah Shem, Yakitzu Viraninu, and everybody we should see them techef umiyad, speedily today, with Mashiach Tzidkenu. Don't know what that word was that the Rebbe was doing. Haseba is.
Amen.
Haseba means when a certain parts of the Haggadah, you're supposed to lean to the side, like eat the matzah like a king, that has pillows and sitting on a shezlong. So if your Rebbe is sitting there, you don't lean like Mr. Lord. You're supposed to sit straight up. But the minute the year the Frierdiker Rebbe was nifter, the Rebbe did it that way. Okay. Take care, everybody. Next week. Yes.
It's beautiful, really beautiful. Please send a recording as well as, if you can, a connection to the video that you put on.
Okay. I would like to say that next week and the week after, I will not be here. I'm going to my mother and to the Kennis we'll be representing all of you at the Kenes of the Shluchot.
Beautiful.
Okay. Okay, take care, everybody. I will-
Thank you. Wow.